Hi everyone, and welcome to our first video of our summer book club series. We are excited to be reading with you this summer. As we've said before, our main desire was to continue to learn and grow over the summer. Everybody loves a good summer book club. While these books might not be beach reads necessarily, they are certainly meaty, good books that are going to help us grow and learn. So we're here with our first one, Dare to Serve, and we're just going to do a quick introduction to give you an idea of why you might want to read this book. So before we get too much further, I'm Lauren DeVries. I'm the Client Experience and Marketing Manager here at InSolutions.
I'm Jon Sluice, President of Intrust CPA. I wanted to take a minute to just mention here too, as we look and start diving into the Dare to Serve, a little context on it as well, and why the books and otherwise. And so first off, the idea of Dare to Serve is a book that I've read long time ago and actually has embodied a little bit of what I try to do on a daily basis here at our office and I know many of you really like to read. I get the opportunity to sit across the desk from many of you and hear stories that you have of books that you read and otherwise. So certainly if you have ideas and other suggestions, we'd love to hear your feedback. I know you all know that I love to read. We all love to read. And as we look through this, it's how we gain knowledge and how we work through. But there are always a few books that come to the top and the surface, if you will. And this is one for me that has embodied a lot of what we try to do here at InSolutions. And in fact, I'm excited that the idea that we've been doing this is an example of putting and living out what Dare to Serve is, which is having Lauren here. I never would have thought about having a summer book club as part of a tax video series. I tend to bend toward the taxes and talking about capital gains, which I hope you loved the video last week on. But someone has told me that most people don't like taxes. It comes as a shocker, I know.
Who knew?
Yeah. And that we have to branch out a little bit. And so here's an example of where we've allowed others to shine and do what they really like to do. And I'm ecstatic to be able to talk through this, bring through this. And thank you, Lauren, for joining us here. And I know Lauren did just briefly introduce herself there, but I think you'll start seeing Lauren more and more around the offices here. Her main task is also along the idea of recognizing that while we like to think everyone loves taxes, she's also tasked with the idea of understanding that not everyone understands taxes here, and that we as accountants, while we love our spreadsheets and love our numbers, understand that not everyone likes that as well. And so she's helping us try to just bridge that gap between the numbers that we love and making it make sense to everyone that's listening here.
So Dare to Serve is written by Cheryl Bachelder. She was the CEO of Popeyes during a pretty difficult time for Popeyes. I'm going to read a little bit of what she says about the company when she came into her role as CEO. She said, sales, guest transactions, and market shares were declining. There was no pipeline of innovative new products, no national media plan to tell others about Popeye's great food, no compelling advertising message, drive-through speed was dead last in the industry, guest ratings were great for food and weak on virtually all other measures. Restaurants were tired and old-looking. Franchise owners were not making much money. New restaurants were opening, but were performing poorly. Other than that, things were going pretty well.
I know when I read that, I had to just shake my head and said, well, I thought we had it difficult here. But holy, I mean, that is definitely a daunting task to be able to undertake an organization like she did.
Yeah, and I personally would not have known where to start. Where do you start from?
Right.
So this book is her outlining what they did as a team, as a leadership team, to turn Popeyes around. And she, later in the book, you'll discover that from February 2008 to December 2016, so 8 years, the Popeyes share price grew from $8.90 to $61.31. And they ended up selling Popeyes for, I believe it was $79 share, somewhere around there.
Huge growth, and you're going to know when you said there from 2008 to 2016, that's right during the middle of a significant downturn as well, and then upturn that came along with it. And so it was a very large undertaking, and one that I think the point you bring out is that this servant leadership, which is what Dare to Serve is going to embody, and you're going to learn through as you read through, that is a big part of who she is and what she's bringing, doesn't necessarily mean weakness and doesn't mean lack of growth or otherwise. In fact, the opposite. To show those financial results from where it was to where it sold is pretty amazing.
Right. Yeah. And some of it is counterintuitive, I think. And even like I was saying to my husband, Steve, in the car, some of it, as I read, made me feel uncomfortable. Like, it's hard to lay your pride aside and act as a servant when, like, you're supposed to be in a leadership role. Even so, as we're talking about leadership, and she says in this book too, this is in any capacity that you serve as a leader in. And if you have anyone that someone looks to you for guidance then you are a leader.
I think that's a great point, that a lot of times people assume that to be a leader, you have to be a president or a CEO or work for this big, gigantic conglomerate. That's not the case. You're going to find, if you look at yourself, I don't care where you are or who you are, whether you're in a committee at a not-for-profit, on a board at a church, that you're part of a team. So if you're at work, if you're in the family, leadership embodies everybody out there, and then your context of how you interact with the people that you interact with.
What is most exciting about this book is that the leadership principles you can take to whatever role you play. And she'll go into purpose a little deeper into the book, that we each have a personal purpose that we carry with us wherever we go, because wherever we go, we are there. And so our personal purpose transcends our job, our roles, outside of work or outside of the home. And that purpose we bring our gifts to the world wherever we are. So it's been exciting to kind of delve into that and realize that we can find meaning in whatever work we do, because our work doesn't give us purpose. We have purpose in and of ourselves.
And I think as we look through this book, and as you hear this, that we're introducing the book, and some of you may have started, some of you are going to be reading through it. It walks through, and so it walks through the transformation that she had on the business of Popeye. So it's real life experience, but it's also transformational for you as a leader, but then for you understanding the transformational for the people that you work with as well. And then I think that embodies what the Dare to Serve servant leadership is. Servant leadership is a buzzword right now. The idea that says, okay, you don't have to be a type A, type B, type C type person. It's more of the idea that says, how do you embody those around you to work as a team, work together? And she gives real practical advice to work through that as you do it in goals. And she pulls in lots of other examples from either Rick Warren on Purpose Driven Life, Max Lucioni, and others that are there that, I go through and I look. My book is highlighted on lots of pages. And in fact, as I read through it, I'm putting things along, and right here is, okay, this is a particular person that this applies to our organization, and this applies to where I'm at church and otherwise. And so there's a lot of practical sides of this book as well, which is partly why we thought of starting this, is we were trying to balance one that was had heft and meat to it, that it wasn't truly just summer read, but at the same time was for the summer, and the idea that says we can't just completely make it mundane either.
And the nice thing, I feel like the summer rhythms slow down, and maybe we don't have school for kids, sports schedules as much, and so we can delve into these kinds of things a little more. Like maybe we have a little bit more margin to think about, well, what has my life looked like? What are my values? What are my strengths? And kind of take 3 months if you need to think through that. Whereas maybe the rest of the year, when we've got kids in school or like work rhythms kind of ramp up, we don't have maybe as much margin.
So join us as we look through this book. Today we're just kind of doing an introduction, get you motivated to read through it, to look through it. We're not going to walk through it page by page. It's not like that. But this is just more us kind of telling you the idea of what we felt important, why we're doing this, but the idea of the embodiment of the servant leadership of something that we hold pretty important here. And as we work in our interactions with everyone here, as well as with clients and otherwise, we're going to have an interview next week with Jason Van Bronklin with Neelis Engineering, someone that we felt, as Jeff and I sat together trying to think of, okay, who would be a good embodiment of what this is, and his name came right to the top. And interesting enough, he was a little bit hesitant to come on the video, which is further shows exactly his nature, which is the dare to serve and the servant leadership type approach of who he is. And so we actually have worked through that early on now, that video, and I'm excited to see the results of where that came, and certainly learned quite a bit just from that interview as well.
Yeah.
And then the following week after that, we're going to take an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into the book. So I'm sure every one of you that are listening to this video are going to grab this book and read through it. Speaking of which, if you do still want the book, we are offering, if anyone wants to read through this, we will get it for you. You can also get it on Amazon or it's a very well-known book that's out there. And so take us up on the offer. I'd welcome the opportunity for you to give us a shout, and we'll get you the book to read through it if you want. But don't feel like you have to either. We're going to go through and we're going to spend in that third week a little bit more deep dive on some of the principles that are in there, go through some of our favorite parts. Like we said, they're fairly dog-eared and highlighted, and so I look forward to that opportunity as well.
Yeah, and take the chance to delve into the personal purpose statement. We'll be going over ours in that third video too. In the book, Cheryl references that she has a Journey to Purpose PDF that you can download. So if you go to Cheryl Bachelder, her name.com, she has that on there where you can download it and go through it yourself too.
Thank you for joining us. We look forward to the interview next week, and we look forward to having you join us along with us. Thank you.
Thanks.